This is me Arju here and I welcome you to my channel Mr. Teeth, where your dental concept get dissected. So this is our part 7 video of the oral mucous membrane or the oral mucosa, and this is the last video of this chapter. After this chapter we will be starting another chapter, that is the alveolar bone. Okay, and the remaining topics that are to be discussed in this video are the dentogingival junction, and I will be discussing every aspect of this junction. Okay, we will be discussing the 3 different epithelium, shift of the dentogingival junction, okay, development of the dentogingival junction, and also I have left to teach about this vermilion border of the lip, okay, or the mucocutaneous junction. Also we call it mucocutaneous junction. Okay, mucocutaneous junction. Okay, mucocutaneous junction. Okay, so particularly we have 3 different kind of junction. One is mucocutaneous junction, okay, that is vermilion border of lip, where the skin and the mucous membrane of the oral cavity meets. Okay, so that is a mucocutaneous junction. Another junction is the dentogingival junction, where the gingiva and the tooth meets. Okay, similarly our third junction is the mucogingival junction, okay, that I have discussed previously, where the alveolar mucosa and the gingiva meets. Okay, so that is a mucogingival junction, dentogingival junction, and mucocutaneous junction. So we have 3 different kinds of the junction. Okay, and also in this video we will be discussing with the age changes. Okay, so we are going to start this video now. So now without delaying much, let's start our today's video. So about this dentogingival junction, okay, so we have discussed a lot about this dentogingival junction, free gingiva, attached gingiva, okay, and after that alveolar mucosa, mucogingival junction is there, okay, and gingival groove is there, that is separating the free gingiva and attached gingiva. Okay, interdental groove is there, okay, that is just adjacent between the two tooths, okay, gingiva of the tooth in between the gingiva of the tooths. Okay, so I think you have watched the previous video, okay, and you are now watching this video, so you will relate all those things here. Okay, so in the first point, tooth meets the oral mucosa. Okay, so dentogingival junction means tooth meets the oral mucosa. After that, in the next point, unique and the weak junction, entry of the bacteria and the lessened resistance to the mechanical forces. Okay, so this is the junction that is unique, okay, and it is a quite a weak junction, so that there is a easy entry of the, okay, so there is a easy entry of those bacteria, and the also at this junction there is a lessened resistance to the mechanical forces. Okay, so dentogingival junction is a quite of a unique and the weak junction, and through this junction, okay, as it is weak, so there is a easy entry of the bacteria, and also it is not more resistance to the mechanical forces. After that, in the next point, consists of the epithelial and the connective tissue component. Okay, so both the epithelial and the connective tissue component is there. Okay, and epithelium, we have 3 different kinds of epithelium here, and in the connective tissue component we have 2 different type of tissue component. One is superficial and another is deep. Okay, so that is not quite important, but this epithelium are quite important. Okay, so consist of the epithelial and the connective tissue component. In epithelium we have 3 different kinds of the epithelium, and in the connective tissue component we have superficial and the deep connective tissue component. Okay, so our first epithelium is now gingival or the marginal epithelium. Okay, so it is a keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, so keratinized stratified squamous epithelium is the gingival or the marginal epithelium here. After that, it is free or unattached gingiva, okay, which is terminal edge or the border of the gingiva surrounding the teeth in a collar-like fashion. Okay, so this gingival or the marginal epithelium is the free. It is unattached gingiva. Okay, so free gingiva that I have discussed previously. Okay, so that free gingiva is the gingival or the marginal epithelium itself. Okay, so you should clear that concept. So there it is a free and or unattached gingiva, which is the terminal edge or the border of the gingiva. Okay, so the border that is separating the gingiva, okay, separating the tooth. Okay, so it is the border of the gingiva that is surrounding the tooth. Okay, that will be more appropriate here. So that is the gingival or the marginal epithelium, and we will be looking the picture of this, so you will be more clear. Okay, so gingival epithelium, simply you take it as, okay, so it is a free gingiva, okay, that we have discussed previously, free or attached gingiva. So free gingiva is a gingival or the marginal epithelium. After that, okay, so we will study about the gingival sulcus here. Okay, so gingival sulcus. Okay, so I'll show you a schematic diagram here. So if this is a tooth here, okay, and this is a cemento enamel junction. So from this cemento enamel junction, this is a gingiva. Okay, so this picture is not much clear, but I hope you will get it. So if this is a gingiva, similarly in this side also we have gingiva. Okay, starting from this cemento enamel junction. Okay, so now, okay, so this is gingiva here, so this is also gingiva here. Okay, now we can see, okay, there is a gap between the gingiva and the tooth. Okay, so this gap is the gingival sulcus. Okay, and about this gap I will be showing a picture. Okay, so this gap is a gingival sulcus between the free gingiva, okay, and the tooth surface. So that is the gingival sulcus. So it is a space between the inner aspect of the gingiva and the tooth. After that it continues continuous crevice or the space around the tooth. Okay, so it is continuous and it is around the tooth, encircling the tooth. After that it is a V shape. Okay, so it is appearing the V shape. So it is this type of the crevice or the space, okay, extend from the free gingival margin to the dentogingival junction. Okay, so free gingival margin, so it is a free gingival margin, okay, to the dentogingival junction is here. Okay, so here is, in this point is the dentogingival junction, and here is a free gingival margin. Okay, so it extends from the free gingival margin to the dentogingival junction. After that, in healthy state, depth is at the approximate level of the free gingival groove on the outer surface of the gingiva. Okay, so in a healthy state or in the normal state, the depth, okay, is at the approximate level of the free gingival groove. Okay, so this free gingival groove is the groove between the free and attached gingiva. Okay, so it is a quite of here. Okay, so if this is a free gingiva, if this is a free gingiva, then this is a attached gingiva. Okay, so I think you are getting it. Okay, so free gingiva and attached gingiva we have group there, and that group is a free gingival groove or the gingival groove. Okay, so this free gingival groove is relating with the, okay, so it is relating with the depth of the gingival sulcus. Okay, means this depth is equal to the gingival sulcus depth. Okay, so that is telling here. Okay, so that is clear, I think now. So in healthy state, depth is at the approximate level of the free gingival groove on the outer surface of the gingiva. After that, in the histological section, depth has been reported as 1.8 mm with the variation from 0 to 6 mm. Okay, so in upcoming time, okay, in this video itself, okay, I will be discussing with the shift of the dentogingival junction. Okay, so we can see the shift there. Okay, so this depth of this gingival sulcus is changing. Okay, so but it is normally 1.8 mm, but there is a variation, okay, from 0 to 6 mm. Okay, so you should learn this data. After that, so-called probing depth of a clinically normal gingival sulcus in a human is 2 to 3 mm. Okay, so in average we have 1.8 mm, but in normal condition it may be up to 2 to 3 mm. Okay, so that is a normal gingival sulcus in the human. Okay, after that we will discuss with the sulcular epithelium or the clavicular epithelium. Okay, so we have discussed with the gingival or the marginal epithelium. Now we will discuss with this circular epithelium or the clavicular epithelium. So it is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, but this free gingiva was the keratinized. Okay, so you should compare like this way. So this is keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, and it is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. It lacks the epithelial ridges, so forms the smooth interface with the lamina propria. Okay, so epithelial ridges here, as it is non-keratinized. Okay, so epithelial ridges should be not much finger like. Okay, so it should be flat. Okay, it should be sort of flat type of circular epithelium. Okay, so this lacks the epithelial ridges, so forms the smooth interface with the lamina propria. After that, thinner than the gingival epithelium. Okay, so it is thinner. It is also thinner than the gingival or the marginal epithelium or the free gingiva. It expresses CK4, which is a typical of the lining epithelium. Okay, so this is expressed by the circular epithelium, and this can be framed into the MCQ question. After that, circular epithelium is continuous with the gingival and the junctional epithelium. These three epithelia have the same basal lamina. Okay, so this is very important point for your concept. Okay, so first of all, there is at this portion we have free gingiva or the gingival margin we have. Okay, marginal gingiva, marginal epithelium. Okay, we have. After that, in crevice or in the gingival sulcus we have circular epithelium. Okay, and I will draw with another pen, then you will be more clear. Okay, so first of all, there is gingival epithelium. Okay, so this is a gingival epithelium. Okay, and it is keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. After this, okay, in the gingival crevice we have, okay, this is circular epithelium or the crevicular epithelium. So circular epithelium means it is present in a sulcus, okay, of the gingiva. Okay, after this there is a junctional epithelium or the attached epithelium. Okay, and from here at this junction, this is a dentogingival junction properly, and this is a junctional epithelium or the attachment epithelium. This is circular epithelium or clavicular epithelium, and this is the marginal epithelium. And from here we can see the tooth structure is there. Okay, so this is tooth, and this side we can see the free gingiva. Okay, so here is a free gingiva. Okay, and after some time, okay, there is a free gingival group. Okay, so there is a free gingival group. Sorry, there is not free gingival group as I have told here. Okay, so this free gingival group is relating with the depth of this dentogingival junction. Okay, so it must be here. Okay, in normal person. So up to here we have free gingiva or the marginal epithelium is there. Okay, so this is free gingiva, marginal epithelium. Okay, after that this is a circular epithelium, and here is a junctional epithelium. So this is quite of a concept. Okay, and this is a schematic diagram to make you clear, but when I will show the picture you will be more clear in this concept. After that, it acts as a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, and about this same basal lamina. Okay, so this is important question for the MCQ. Okay, so you should learn that this free epithelium, marginal epithelium, or the circular epithelium, or this junctional epithelium, they all share a single basement membrane. Okay, after that our another epithelium is a junctional epithelium, and this is very important for your theory exams. Okay, so they can ask you in a short note about this junctional epithelium or the attachment epithelium. So it is another name of the junctional epithelium. Now epithelium of the gingiva that gets attached to the tooth. Okay, so it is a epithelium that is getting attached to the tooth structure, and it resembles with the reduced enamel epithelium in its structure. Okay, so about this reduced enamel epithelium you will be more clear in the developmental part. Okay, but for now resembles with the reduced enamel epithelium in its structure. After that, it is collar around the tooth, wider 15 to 30 cells thick at the floor of the gingival sulcus. Okay, so it is collar like. Okay, so it is collar like, and it is 15 to 30 cells thick. Okay, and this is very important, at the floor of the gingival sulcus. Okay, so this is floor. Okay, so this is the sulcus. Okay, so this is a sulcus, and at the floor of the sulcus we can see the junctional epithelium or the attachment epithelium there. After that, it tapers apically to a final thickness of 3 to 4 cells. Okay, so at the below portion, okay, so at the junction, particularly at the junction, we have 15 to 30 cells. Okay, but it is a quite of a triangular structure. Okay, so at the junction it is a 15 to 30 cell thicker. Okay, there, but when we go up side, okay, so there is a taper like structure. Okay, so there is tapering of the thickness of this epithelium, and it forms 3 to 4 cells there. After that, cells can be grouped into two strata. Okay, one is basal layer and another is a suprabasal layer. So basal layer is facing the connective tissue, and suprabasal layer is extending to the tooth surface. Okay, so I'll show you here. Okay, by this pen itself. Okay, so in this side, okay, so in this side we can see that junctional epithelium is meeting with the connective tissue here. Okay, but at this portion, okay, but at this side, okay, at this side it is meeting with the tooth structure. So it is a suprabasal layer here, and it is basal layer here. Okay, so it is basal here and it is suprabasal at this side. Okay, After that, in junctional epithelium is attached to the tooth surface by the means of the internal basal lamina, attached to the gingival connective tissue by the external basal lamina. Okay, so this is also important. Okay, so this suprabasal layer, which is close to the tooth surface, it is attached to the tooth surface by the means of the internal basal lamina. Okay, so at this portion there is internal basal lamina, but it is attached to the connective tissue, okay, by the external basal lamina. So at this portion we have external basal lamina. Okay, so I will repeat once again so you will be more clear. So if this is a junctional epithelium, okay, so if this is a junctional epithelium and here is a tooth and here is a connective tissue, okay, so towards the tooth side it is called suprabasal layer, towards the connective tissue side it is called the basal layer. Okay, after that the suprabasal layer is separated from the tooth, okay, by the internal basal lamina, or it is attached to the tooth by the internal basal lamina, and on the connective tissue side it is again attached, okay, by the means of the external basal lamina. Okay, so there is internal basal lamina on the suprabasal layer and the external basal lamina on the basal side. Okay, so that is the concept here. After that, it is non-differentiating, non-keratinizing tissue. Okay, non-keratinized tissue, greater amount of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, and amount of cytoplasm we have here in this junctional epithelium, and fewer tonofilaments, lower density of the desmosome is present in this junctional epithelium. Okay, so these are the features of the cells that are present in a junctional epithelium. Highly permeable with a larger intercellular space, it permits easy flow of the gingival fluid and the neutrophils. Okay, so they are highly permeable. Circular epithelium was semi-permeable, but this is highly permeable and with a large intercellular space because they have low density of desmosomes there, and it permits the easy flow of the gingival fluid and the neutrophils. Gingival fiber support junctional epithelium and collectively they are considered as a dentogingival unit. Okay, so this is a favorite question for your MCQ exams. Okay, so gingival fibers, about also we call gingival ligaments. Okay, so we have discussed with these gingival ligaments in the periodontal ligament video. Okay, so you can watch that. Okay, so we have different groups of collagen fiber bundle present in gingiva that is supporting the tooth structure, so that is called gingival fiber, and along this gingival fiber and this junctional epithelium, they both collectively are called dentogingival units. After that, exhibit the rapid turnover, contributes to the host parasite equilibrium and rapid repair of the damaged tissue. Okay, so this is also very important. I think 5 to 6 days is the turnover time of this junctional epithelium. Okay, so it exhibits the rapid turnover, okay, and it contributes to the host and parasite equilibrium. Okay, so this can be framed into the MC question: host and parasite equilibrium. Rapid repair of the damaged tissue is also in this, as it have rapid turnover time. Act as a barrier for the bacterial toxins and the bacteria. Okay, so as it is a junction, as it is an attachment, so it acts as a barrier there. Okay, so we have completed this. So once I will show this picture and I will move ahead. So in this picture, as we can see here, okay, so gingival sulcus, okay, the small section from the gingiva is taken here, and we can see the gingival sulcus there, and oral epithelium or the marginal epithelium is being shown there. Okay, and below that we can see the sulcular epithelium or clavicular epithelium, and below that we can see the junctional epithelium, okay, which is just adjacent to the tooth structure. Okay, and as I have discussed with the junctional epithelium, it have internal basal lamina, external basal lamina. Okay, and external basal lamina is connected with the connective tissue that you can see in the picture, and internal basal lamina is the structure that connects the junctional epithelium with the tooth structure. And in the below picture we can see the outer side of the outer view of the cut portion. Okay, so we can see the gingival sulcus little bit portion is present there, and that is a structure we can see the free or marginal gingiva, okay, there, and below that we can see the attached gingiva, and marginal groove or gingival groove is separating the free gingiva from the attached gingiva. Similarly, below the attached gingiva we can see the alveolar mucosa, and mucogingival junction is separating the attached gingiva with the alveolar mucosa. Okay, so I think now you are clear with all those concepts. Okay, so now we will discuss with the development. So in this development, okay, so this is very important. Okay, so this is the development of particularly the junctional epithelium. Okay, so in the first point, okay, so after ameloblast, okay, so about this ameloblast I have discussed properly in the development of the tooth video. Ameloblast we have, odontoblast we have. Okay, so ameloblast is responsible for the formation of the enamel, and odontoblast responsible for the formation of the dentin. Okay, I hope you are remembering that. After ameloblast finish the formation of the enamel matrix, it leaves a membrane on the enamel surface called the primary enamel cuticle. Okay, okay, so this is important. So primary enamel cuticle. Okay, so ameloblast they form the enamel matrix, and after forming the enamel matrix, it leaves a membrane on the enamel surface that is called primary enamel cuticle. Okay, now ameloblast shortens after a primary enamel cuticle formation. Okay, an epithelial enamel organ reduced to the few layers of the flat cuboidal cells. Okay, so epithelial enamel organ. Okay, so there is epithelial enamel organ. About the enamel organ also we have discussed properly. So this epithelial enamel organ is reduced to the few layers of the flat cuboidal cells, that is called reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, so it is a reduced portion of this enamel organ, reduced portion of the epithelial enamel organ, and that is flat cuboidal cells. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so reduced enamel epithelium is a flat cuboidal cell that is a few layer that is reduced from the epithelial enamel organ. This is very favorite question of your viva exams, also for your MCQ exams, and it covers the entire epithelium till the cemento enamel junction and remain attached to the primary enamel cuticle. Okay, so it covers the entire enamel. So this reduced enamel epithelium covers the entire enamel till the cemento enamel junction. Okay, so I will show you picture now and remain attached to the primary enamel cuticle. Okay, so first we will discuss with the text, then I will show you the picture. During the eruption, rough RE reduced enamel epithelium and oral epithelium, okay, it meets and fuse. Okay, and with the fusion, okay, so the with the fusion there is a eruption. Okay, so there is a stimulation for the eruption, and after eruption we have the this primary enamel cuticle covering the enamel surface. Okay, so this remnant of the primary enamel cuticle. Okay, so this primary enamel cuticle is destroyed by the masticated forces, by the occlusion between the two tooths. Okay, so due to that this primary enamel cuticle have the remnants, and that is called Nasmyth's membrane. Okay, after the eruption. Okay, so after eruption primary enamel cuticle is called Nasmyth's membrane, or the remnant of the primary enamel cuticle is called Nasmyth's membrane. Okay, and once the tip of the crown has emerged, reduced enamel epithelium is called the primary attachment epithelium. So this is also very important. Okay, okay, so after the eruption, before eruption it was the reduced enamel epithelium and there was the primary enamel cuticle, but after the eruption primary enamel cuticle is changed into the Nasmyth's membrane, and this reduced enamel epithelium is changed into the primary attachment epithelium. Okay, as the tooth erupts, reduced enamel epithelium grows shorter, and shallow groove or gingival sulcus may develop between the gingiva and the surface of the tooth, extending throughout the circumference. Okay, so it is telling about the development of the gingival sulcus. Okay, so reduction with the tooth eruption. Okay, as it is erupting, reduced enamel epithelium it gets shorter, and shallow groove is formed between the gingiva and the tooth structure. Okay, so these are the text and they are quite difficult to just visualize. Okay, so I will show you a picture and I will try to make more clear. And after that, in the next one, the sulcus or the groove deepens as a result of the separation of the rough this is not rough endoplasmic reticulum, it is a reduced enamel epithelium from the actively erupting tooth. Okay, so with the sulcus or the groove when it is deepened, okay, as a result of the separation of the REE from the active erupting tooth. Okay, so now I will show you the pictures. Okay, so this is a Orbans. Okay, so we can see the three different pictures, okay, of three different stages of the tooth eruption. Okay, so we can see in this first picture. Okay, so this epithelium that is surrounding the enamel. Okay, this epithelium that is surrounding the enamel. Okay, and this black line that is separating this epithelium from the enamel is the primary enamel cuticle. Okay, that I have discussed here. Okay, that ameloblast forms the primary enamel cuticle on the enamel surface, okay, which is not erupted. Okay, so there is a primary enamel cuticle. Okay, so PEC is there, and there is a reduced enamel epithelium here. Now we can see the fusion of the oral and the enamel epithelium at this portion. Okay, so we can see the this reduced enamel epithelium is fusing with this oral enamel epithelium. Okay, so after the fusion there is a breakage. Okay, so there is a eruption of this tooth structure by breaking the oral epithelium. Okay, so this is exposed enamel epithelium. So now this reduced enamel epithelium is exposed in the oral environment. Okay, and after that, okay, so we can see there is a proper eruption of the tooth structure here. So it is erupted enamel here, gingival sulcus is there. Okay, so with the eruption the gingival sulcus is getting deeper and deeper. Okay, and it is forming the sulcus there, and here is we can see the free gingiva. After that, this is the reduced enamel epithelium, and now it is called the attachment epithelium. Okay, and here we can see the enamel, cemento enamel junction, dentine, and the pulp. Okay, so from the cemento enamel junction we have the reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, covering the newly formed enamel. Okay, that is covered by the primary enamel cuticle, and after superficial to the primary enamel cuticle we have the reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, but after the eruption primary enamel cuticle, okay, is present over this. Okay, so primary enamel cuticle is present still over this, and now this layer is called Naismith's membrane, and this Naismith's membrane get destroyed with the regular mastication. Okay, so when we do mastication, okay, so when there is a occlusion between the two tooths, this Naismith's membrane that is covering the tooth structure, it get degraded. Okay, so this is a proper structure showing the development eruption of the tooth. Okay, so this junctional epithelium. Okay, so this junctional epithelium is also formed from this reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, so that is the development here. So reduced enamel epithelium forms the junctional epithelium. So with the eruption, okay, so just you imagine with the eruption tooth is getting outside. Okay, and this the junction, okay, between this gingiva and the tooth is getting downward. Okay, and at this point there is a little junction, there is a little attachment present between the reduced enamel epithelium or the attachment epithelium with that of the tooth structure. Okay, so that is this attachment epithelium is the junctional epithelium. Okay, so it is quite difficult, I think, to explain you guys. Okay, I think you have understood this, but once again I will tell this. Okay, so first of all, in this point, okay, first of all you just read here. Okay, so when the ameloblast forms the enamel matrix, forms the enamel, okay, it forms the layer over the enamel, and that is called primary enamel cuticle. Okay, but that primary enamel cuticle, when it is erupted or when the tooth comes in the oral cavity, okay, that's the primary enamel cuticle is changed into the Naismith's membrane, and that Naismith's membrane, okay, so that is a technical term given to the primary enamel cuticle. That Naismith's membrane get destroyed, get degraded by the regular mastication. Okay, so this is the story of the primary enamel cuticle. After that, there is a story of the reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, and the reduced enamel epithelium is that epithelium that is covering whole enamel surface. Okay, from the cemento enamel junction to the tip of the tooth. Okay, so now there is a first of all formation of the, there is a first of all contact between the oral epithelium and the reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, so with this contact there is a stimulation for the eruption. So now the tooth get erupted, and with the eruption, okay, that junction, okay, with the eruption, the junction between the reduced enamel epithelium and the tooth, okay, so it is going deeper and deeper, and it is forming the sulcus there, and at the end, okay, at the end it is attached to the tooth, and that end is called attachment epithelium or the junctional epithelium. But as I have told earlier, okay, once the tooth erupt in the oral cavity, then it is called reduced enamel, then it is called attachment epithelium. Okay, so it is called the attachment epithelium, but when it is not erupted, it is called the reduced enamel epithelium. So once it get erupted, it is called attachment epithelium, and now that attachment epithelium is going deeper and deeper. Okay, so it is forming the sulcus, and the sulcus is going deeper and deeper, and at the end, okay, when the tooth is properly erupted, there is a still little attachment present between the tooth and the gingiva, and that is called the attachment, that is called the proper junctional epithelium or attachment epithelium there. Okay, So that is the concept. I think you got it. Now after that we will move to the another topic, that is a shift of the dentogingival junction, and this is also the very important topic for your exams. Now the position of the gingiva on the surface of the tooth changes with the time, okay, and it is continuous, okay. So this position of the gingiva or the position of the junctional epithelium over the tooth structure is not a permanent, okay. It is just continuous, and it is just changing, and okay, it is continuously separated from the enamel. When the teeth comes in contact with the antagonist, separation of the gingiva becomes slow, okay. So this the same concept is coming from this point, okay. So that is the gingiva portion over the tooth is not fixed, okay. So it is changing with the time, and it is continuously separated from the enamel. But when the teeth comes in contact with the antagonist means the if the maxillary molar is coming, then its antagonist will be the mandibular molar, okay. So in the opposite arch from which tooth it is forming the contact, okay. So that is the antagonist. So with the contact with the antagonist, there is a separation of the gingiva, and it becomes the slow there, okay. Okay, the separation of the gingiva, the shift of the dentogingival junction would be slow, okay. So this shift forms this gingival sulcus, okay. So I think you can relate now. So the shift of the dentogingival junction, okay. So actually the dentogingival junction is the portion where the junctional epithelium is attached to the tooth structure, no. So this shift of the dentogingival junction is responsible for the formation of the gingival sulcus. But after the formation of the proper gingival sulcus, okay, but also in some pathological condition it may get shifted to the cementum side too, okay. So we will be discussing here. So we have 4 different stages of the dentogingival shift, okay. So one is there, so this is also important. One is active eruption, another is passive eruption. So active eruption means due to the actual movement of the tooth structure, okay, and passive eruption means separation of the primary attachment epithelium from the enamel, okay. So this passive eruption means there is a movement of the epithelium, okay, towards the downside, and it appears, it gives the image that tooth is coming outside, okay. So it is particularly with the shift of the epithelium, okay. So epithelium have a major importance in this passive eruption, but in this active eruption there is a proper movement of the tooth structure, okay. But in this passive eruption there is a proper movement of the epithelium. So if the epithelium goes downside, then we can see the tooth size, tooth crown is coming outside, okay. So the size of the crown would increase, so we may think that there is eruption of the tooth, okay. So that is the concept. So we have one active eruption, another is passive eruption, okay. After that there are 4 stages of the shift. So in the first stage, okay, so I have written like this, okay. So why I have written like this, I will explain at the end, okay. So the junctional epithelium stays at the cemento-enamel junction, and the base of the gingival sulcus is completely in the enamel, okay, and stage persists up to the 1 year of the age in the deciduous tooth, but in a permanent tooth up to 20 to 30 years, okay. So I will show you the picture, then it will be more clear, okay. So in this picture, okay, so it is the Orbans itself now. So okay, so in this first picture we can see this is a tooth structure, okay, and this is a gingiva, and this is a gingival sulcus here. So we can see the gingival sulcus, okay. So this is a gingival sulcus, and it is over the enamel, okay, and this C means cemento-enamel junction, and we can see the junctional epithelium of this gingiva is just attached to the cemento-enamel junction. So this is a stage 1, okay, and this is a normal, okay. So this is quite a normal stage of the dentogingival junction. After that, in the second stage, if the bottom of the gingival sulcus is still on the enamel, okay, and the apical end of the attachment epithelium or the junctional epithelium has shifted to the surface of the cementum, means, okay. So I will show again the picture. So in this picture you can see previously the junctional epithelium was on the cemento-enamel junction, but now this junction has shifted downward, okay. So this is a cementum, below this is cementum, above this is enamel. E means enamel, there is cementum here, okay, and this C means cemento, the junction between enamel and cementum is cemento-enamel junction. So previously it was attached to the cemento-enamel junction, but now there is a shift, okay, and the shift is downward. So the junctional epithelium is going downside, and now this gingival sulcus length, okay, that is getting smaller, okay. So it is decreasing here, and so the base of the gingival sulcus is over the enamel itself, but the junctional epithelium is on now cementum. Okay, so that is the concept here. So bottom of the gingival sulcus is still on the enamel, but apical end of the attachment epithelium has shifted to the surface of the cementum. Okay, after that, in this stage persists up to the age of the 40 years, so you can remember those dates. Okay, so they can be asked in the MCQ exams. Now in the third stage, bottom of the gingival sulcus is at the cemento-enamel junction. Okay, so previously the gingival sulcus bottom was on the enamel surface, but now it is on the cemento-enamel junction. Means again the gingiva is shifted towards the downward side. Okay, and the epithelial attachment is entirely on the cementum, and the enamel covered crown is fully exposed. Okay, so with this third stage, now we can see that enamel covered crown. Okay, so at this stage, okay, the crown is properly exposed here. Okay, so we can see the bottom of this gingival sulcus. Okay, so it is just adjacent to the cemento-enamel junction, and this junction epithelium has shifted downside. Okay, and again in this fourth picture, the gingival sulcus bottom. Okay, so there is no any kind of gingival sulcus, and as it was just adjacent to the cemento-enamel junction here in the third picture, but in the fourth picture, this base of the gingival sulcus have been shifted more downward toward the cementum side. So we have four different pictures, and this is very easy concept to understand. Okay, so looking this picture, okay, so in exam you just draw all those picture and write the text below this image. Okay, then it will be more better. Okay, so in fourth stage also it represents the recession of the gingiva and its pathological states. Okay, entire attachment on the cementum, and the clinical crown is greater than anatomical crown. Okay, so now I will discuss about this greater, equal, and this as I have written here, this is less here and this is less here. Okay, so in both two, first stage and in the second stage, okay, so they are a physiological condition. Okay, so that is a normal condition, and in this condition, as I have told, as I have explained here. Okay, so here the clinical crown and the anatomical crown concept comes. Okay, so clinical crown and about the anatomical crown I have explained properly in the dental anatomy video of my this channel. Okay, in this channel itself. Okay, so about the clinical crown and about the anatomical crown, so once you can watch that video. So in this first stage, okay, so in fourth stage clinical crown is greater than anatomical crown, but in the first stage and the second stage the clinical crown, okay, it is smaller than the anatomical crown here in the first stage and the second stage, and in the third stage we have clinical crown equals to the anatomical crown, and the fourth stage clinical crown is more greater than that of the anatomical crown. Okay, so about those crown, once you watch that video then you will be more clear. Okay, and this can be framed into the question. Okay, so they can ask you in the third stage clinical crown is greater than anatomical crown, or it is equal to anatomical crown, or it is less than anatomical crown, so tick one answer. Okay, so at that time you should tell it is equal at the third stage. Okay, so like that they can ask you in the MCQ exam. After that age changes. Okay, so this is also one of the favorite questions for your viva exams. Okay, so an elderly person often has a smoother and drier surface than that of the youngster, and may be described as a atrophic or the friable. Okay, so in elderly person they have smoother and drier surface, okay, on the gingiva, on the oral mucosa, and that of the youngster okay, so they have not quite a drier surface, and this elderly person oral mucosa is quite of, and they are described as atrophic and friable. After that epithelium appears thinner, and smoothening and flattening of the epithelial ridges is there. Okay, so epithelium, okay, it appears thinner here. Epithelium, okay, so epithelium it appears thinner and it is smoother, and flattening of the epithelial ridges occur. Okay, with the age. There is decrease in a filiform papillae, and a smooth or the glossy appearance is present on the tongue. Okay, after that there is decrease in the Langerhans cells, increase in a sebaceous gland for digestive spot of the lips and the cheeks. After that varicosities. Okay, so I think you know this about the varicose vein. Okay, so there is a patent veins we can see on the oral mucosa. Okay, so that is called varicosities. Okay, developing the, okay, so it is developed. Okay, after that nodular varicose vein on the undersurface of the tongue is called caviar tongue. Okay, so this is the technical term you can learn. Okay, so nodular nodules is present there, okay, like this. Okay, so here is one nodule, another again, here is another nodule. Okay, another nodule is here. Okay, so nodules are found in the vein. Okay, and they are engorged, they are patent, so that is called varicose. So nodular varicose vein on the under surface of the tongue, and that is called caviar tongue. Okay, after that, our last topic of this chapter and of this video, so that is a vermilion border of the lip. Okay, and this is very easy topic. So in the skin we have thick stratum corneum, in the lip we have thin, and the lip is towards the oral mucosa side, and in the skin we have the skin side. Okay, so connective tissue papillae are the short here. Okay, so they are short here. Okay, and they are also short in this lip, and sweat sebaceous gland and the hair follicles are present here, and here is no sweat gland, here is no sebaceous gland, and no hair follicle present in the lip. Okay, and in between them, okay, we have vermilion border, and we have intermediate features, okay, as that of the skin and the lip. So I have written like this way. Okay, so vermilion border, thin epithelium with the thin keratinization. Okay, so we have thin epithelium with the thin keratinization present, long papillae is reaching high in the epithelium, carrying many capillary loops. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, this can be asked in your MCQ exam. Okay, so at the vermilion border, the distinguishing feature we have is the long epithelial ridges we have. Okay, okay, and this long epithelial ridges is more, this epithelial ridges is long more than that of the skin and that of the lip. Okay, so in the lip also we do not have that much longer papillae present, but in this vermilion border we have the long papillae that is reaching high in the epithelium and carrying the many capillary loops. Okay, so many capillary loops are present in this vermilion border. So that I have written here, so this makes it moderate. Okay, so with this capillary loop, okay, so we just look the lip of the people. Okay, so it is quite a more reddish nature is there. Okay, so that reddish nature, okay, is coming from this capillary loop. After that, it is devoid of the glands. Okay, so we do not have the glands in the submucosal part of this vermilion border. Okay, and this vermilion border is a mucocutaneous junction. Okay, so in the first of this video I have told about the three junctions: mucocutaneous, mucogingival, and the dentogingival. Also you should learn the different kind of group. Okay, so gingival group, free gingival group, free attached gingiva, free gingiva, and attached gingiva. We have the group that is free gingival group. After that, interdental group. Okay, so you should also learn about that interdental group. Okay, between the adjacent tooth gingiva. Okay, okay, so I think now I have tried to cover all the topics, okay, that are important in this chapter. Okay, but this oral mucosa chapter is just like an ocean. Okay, you can study a lot in this topic. Okay, there is no any boundary in this chapter. Okay, there is a lot of things we can discuss here, but for exam purpose, okay, those things that I have taught in all those videos of this oral mucosa, in all those 7 parts of the oral mucosa, they are very important, and you should be mastered in those points. Okay, in those topics for your exams. Okay, so to score good marks in your exams, and you know better that I prepare all those notes from the Orbans. Okay, so my proper and my first priority book is the Orbans. Okay, to take those notes. Okay, so while taking all those notes, I especially prefer to the Orbans. Okay, okay, so now I think you are studying and preparing for your exam in a better way, and now I will meet you in the next video of the alveolar bone, okay, of this dental histology chapter. And till now we have covered different topics of this dental histology, so you can go through all those chapter. Okay, so we have covered the enamel, about the dentine, about the cementum, about periodontal ligament, pulp, okay, and this oral mucosa. We have covered all those topics, okay, in detail, and we have also discuss the Orbans, okay, in detail in all those video. Okay, after watching all those video, you will be perfectly, okay, clear in all your concept. Okay, you will be perfectly clearing your all the concept in this dental histology, I assure you that. Okay, okay, so now let's end this video here. Now we will meet in the next video of the alveolar bone. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy, and the notes of this oral mucosa have been uploaded in a Telegram channel, so you can take the note from that channel. Okay, you can join the Telegram channel, and the link of the Telegram channel is in the description. Okay, so you can visit the Telegram channel and you can get the notes of this oral mucosa and also the notes of the previous chapter, okay, that I have taught in this channel. Okay, So okay, now we will meet in the next video. So stay happy, stay healthy. Tata, bye bye, thank you.